I had the opportunity yesterday to help Gerry with his golf game and specifically looking at the driver. He came to me kind of struggling a little bit, lacking in confidence, not hitting it as well as he'd like. We did some great things in that lesson. I really wanted to make this video and share it with you because there's going to be so many things that you can take through to your golf game. And we did kind of 4 really key stages, something at setup, something through impact, and then we finished up with something which I think is going to completely surprise you. It's so simple. It had such a big effect on his golf game, and anybody can do that. And it really helped him hit these high draws with his driver, and they were going further as well. So let's get into what we did. The first thing I wanted to do with Gerry was to get him more comfortable over the ball. Now, you might resonate with this. You might be thinking, yeah, that sounds like me. I'm often over the ball and it just doesn't feel comfortable. I can't get myself set. This is the case with Gerry, and there was one reason why he was doing that, and I want to show you what that was.
Okay, I would like to see your hands a little bit more back.
Right.
Okay. Generally, what we tend to see with, on average, tour players, the hands with the driver actually tend to be slightly back of impact. Now, as soon as you get the hands a little forward, we know that what you do with the grip affects the face. It's more likely to push the face to the right. Yeah. So if you have the hands a little forward, either the face is going to align all right, or for some golfers, they'll say things like, I just can't get the club to sit right because the hands are forward and then they're trying to twist it back and it kind of gets a bit uncomfortable. Most of the drivers these days are pretty good in terms of they sit very neutrally and pretty well. But obviously, if we were to push the handle forwards or move the handle back, it changes where the club points. So with the driver, if we don't have the club shaft nice and neutral, if we have it a little forward, the face tends to sit a little open. Now, the majority of golfers wouldn't necessarily like to see that a little open, so at setup they'll try and twist the club a little bit. And it's interesting actually, if you just take your normal setup, so don't do anything different, just your normal setup.
Yeah, I'm already...
Okay, right, now I'm holding the golf club, you take your hands off. Watch what happens to the club head. There we go. This is how it's kind of fallen back.
Yeah.
So what that tells me is that you're setting the club in a certain way and then trying to change it a little bit with your hands.
Yeah.
And it's just an element of inconsistency that we don't really want.
So the first thing I wanted him to do was really get good at aligning the golf club and having the club shaft nice and neutral. So try this little exercise. You're going to take the driver in your trail hand and you're going to go through your technique. So I like to pick an intermediate target. So I'm going to be picking this divot here, and I'm just going to take my right hand and I'm just going to align the club face at that intermediate target, but just have the club sitting nicely on the ground. Now I'll straight away see whether handle being forwards, club is open, or handle being back, club is closed. So I want that club shaft nice and neutral, which allows the club to sit nice and neutral. Then I can build my stance around that. What we would generally tend to see with great drivers of the golf ball is they tend to have the hands nice and neutral, and if anything, they have the handle slightly back. The last thing we want is to have the hands forward because that opens the club face and then you are in a whole world of trouble because you're going to have to start twisting the club and it won't look right and it'll look very, very different over the ball. So this was really key that we did this with Gerry. The next stage was to do some work on the lead arm. Now this is so important in his golf swing, in your golf swing, in my golf swing, everyone's golf swing. If you're struggling, what do you often see through the golf ball? We're looking at drive, but you see this with irons. Well, you often see these elbows kind of separating, bending. It just looks a little bit cramped. So with Gerry's golf swing, his follow through, so target side of the ball, tended to be quite low and too much around his body. The reason for that? It's what his left arm was doing. So as he went through the golf ball, his left arm was sort of bending this way, but it wasn't folding correctly. And that was tending to leave the face open, and it was tending to mean that he wasn't getting the maximum amount of speed into the golf club. So I'm going to show you the drill that we did, really, really simple. I'd love to go ahead and try this. Best done with this mid iron, but you can see what we did here with Gerry.
The majority of golfers, on the way through, the lead arm will bend, which is not necessarily a problem. It's the fact that there's no rotation in there. Okay, so there's a big difference between an arm which is bending.
Yeah.
This has got bend in it, versus an arm which is bending but also
Rotating.
Yep. I've still got bend here, but I've got rotation. Okay, and when we do that, the club goes a lot further, but it also causes the club face to rotate and fold over. Okay, hold that. Okay, so what I saw there, which is kind of what tends to happen a lot, is too much tension.
Yeah.
Okay, so softer, softer, softer. There we go. Good. Just going to go a little turn. Better.
Okay.
Better. Just letting that club head work
On its own.
this way. Good.
Yeah.
So if you sort of mimic that movement now, look at the toe of the club. As you do that, it just wants to overtake. So it's a
Right.
sort of squaring movement, if you like. It's something in the golf swing which squares. If this arm sort of bends, you can see what the club does.
Yeah.
Number one, it hasn't got as much speed, but number two, it doesn't tend to, it doesn't tend to want to square up. It tends to want to point in that direction. So just have a little couple of swings of that. Just take the better. Good. Better. So on these practices, I'd love it to just be
Tuck it in.
a little softer.
Okay.
Just we're trying to get as much softness as we can. Now, like I said, reality is at speed it'll do this.
It'll do
But
that.
the idea of this right arm is to keep this sort of on the side. Better, much better. Okay, and all we're going to do is we're just going to go a little chip, maybe 20 to 30 yards. We're just going to sort of finish here. And all I wanted to do is be able to take that trail hand off and be in this sort of same position. I've got some rotation, but my arm is close. And the grip is down here. Love that. Love that. Really good. Wherever you finish, just hold. There we go, perfect. Okay, take this hand off. Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. That's where it should be.
So taking that on a stage, I wanted to give Gerry a different sort of feel, something he could do away from the bay, something he could do where actually he's making some swings rather than just some movements of that lead arm. You could go this way, but if you think about damaging the wall, this way. So if I was to demonstrate your golf swing and make it far worse than it is, okay, probably can't make a backswing because the wall would get in the way. You'd get down to here,
Yeah.
but then on the way through, because what your arms do, you'd almost drag the club
Right.
into here. So if you were to stand with, your feet probably some 6 inches away,
Okay.
and the feel would be you're almost trying to, from here, get the club working all the way through without hitting the wall. There you go. And you'll feel how you're doing a lot more with your hands and arms. There you go.
Yeah.
It's a good feeling for you. Okay, just go a little slower on the back. I'm just conscious of you hitting that. That's it. There you go, perfect. So on that drive that you leaked out to the right, what we see in your follow through, we saw this sort of very much this sort of drag across here where you were trying to sort of save it with your hands. So that you can't really do this at massively high speed, but it gives you a little idea of trying to fold the arms up more
Yeah.
with the body rotation.
Okay.
It's a good little exercise to sort of feel what that would be.
Right.
That would be like. If I do nothing with my body and just fold my arms, the club goes upwards.
Yeah.
But my lead arm is folding. But as soon as that lead arm buckles, it
Yeah.
wants to go this way. So I could just go ahead and almost, get this feeling of get the club up this way with that lead arm folding.
Right.
Okay. Nice and slow. There you go. Beautiful.
We used that wall as a barrier, and we got him to make some swings where he wasn't making contact with the wall. So here's how you do that when you don't have that wall. You're going to take a starting position, and you can see that my bag is probably some 6 to 8 inches in front of my sort of toes. Now, bearing in mind, this is to create a feel. This isn't necessarily the exact movement that you would want, but this is great because in this stage of the change, that's what I wanted to give Gerry, the right feels that he could latch onto. So had we looked at Gerry's golf swing to begin with, and he'd just made a normal swing, with his lead arm movement, he'd have hit that bag every single time. We gave him 10 swings, he'd have hit it 10 times. Watch what happens if I don't do anything with my body, and I hold the top of my lead arm, like that little first exercise we did, and just let the club release through. Well, you'll see now that club starts to go more up and over the golf bag because my lead arm is starting to fold correctly. Now, at this stage, I obviously don't have any body turn, but it's really training my lead arm to fold and release correctly. So what I can do is I can actually place both hands on the golf club, make some little swings, and just rehearse, just like clip my head over there, these movements. And you can see how my release of my forearms is causing the club to go much more up and over that golf bag. Now, I'm not really using a huge amount of body turn. The reality is we would in a swing. But if you move around to the front on view, you'll see that when I do that, what does that do to my lead arm? Puts me in this perfect position. That first position that we were working on before we jumped outside. So if you see this in your golf swing, try that. Use that wall drill, but even if you're on the golf course, place your golf bag here, have some little swings, and you're going to start to get that lead arm folding much better. So the last thing we did with Gerry, this is the thing that was the game changer for him, really got him to perform better. We tapped into this, the 6 inches between your ears. Often we think of the golf swing in terms of positions and club face and play and delivery, but we don't think about this. All I wanted to do with Gerry is change his intent.
So let's see, just out of interest, I want to see what happens to your release if we change the path.
Okay.
If you were to try and imagine you're going to hit that logo,
Right.
that would sort of create a slightly more right path. And then I'm interested to see how you would get the ball to come
Back.
into the middle. Because I'm hoping that to get the ball to come back, you'll do it through kind of folding this arm correctly. So if you're holding just your left hand only, the feel would be hitting that logo, which to you would feel as this ball's going to go way into the trees, but then letting the toe of the club really wrap over through that left arm.
Right.
Okay? Just see if we can sort of change the release through a little bit of intent. That's it, there we go. Really get that club going high over your left shoulder. That was perfect.
Straighter.
That was perfect. Get that club finishing high, let that left arm fold. Much better. Much better.
Yeah. Probably could go higher on the fold sort of thing, but it feels...
That was good. That was really good.
Feels better, definitely.
It's probably the best three you've hit. That's probably your longest one. Path, good. Face slightly closed. Ball speed was up. Smash factor was up. That was good.
Speed was good, yeah. Spin was good.
Different ways of changing a golf swing. If you wanted my head to go a little bit more forwards in the downswing, you could tell me to do that, which would be the technical aspects. Or you could just say, I'll tell you what, Chris, just hit me a drive and just, from a normal setup, hit it as low as you can. There's a good chance I'll move my head. So you've moved my head, but you never told me to. You just laid out this visual task that I was trying to achieve. And as soon as we got you to swing a little bit more out to the right and bring it back, it got you to almost sort of change the way.
You can't do that if you try and swing out to the right.
Because by moving your path more out to the right, what we did is we gave you a right element.
Yeah.
Path right. So your golfing brain says, well, I better put in a left element, which is a bit more of this release. So suddenly we got this sort of path right, better release, and suddenly we get in sort of high draws. That's so good. Now that was actually higher in the face, which is a really good sign. That's probably your longest one. I mean, it's going to be close, but it's probably technically your longest one.
We focused on the golfing brain, and that's so, so powerful. So think about that with your golf game. What type of shot is going to change your golf swing? So on the course, use your brain. It's incredibly powerful, and like Gerry, you might get some incredible results.